In this lecture, we will learn how to perform a measurement system analysis using ANOVA method and interpret the results. Here are a set of important points for you to perform the measurement system analysis. Make sure that the parts cover the entire specification range. Also ensure that the appraisers are people who are involved in the daily measurement. Randomize the order of doing the data collection because the same appraiser is going to collect the same part twice. It's likely that he might remember that part, he might have an identifier or so and remember the part and then reproduce the same value. In order to ensure that that doesn't occur, try to randomize the order. We will talk about how randomization can be done using Minitab. Also, after you have completed the measurements, if possible, retain the parts or the documents that you are having so that even after measurement, if you have a clarification, because most often when your gauge results are not consistent, then we will be required to go and find out why the gauge R&R was poor and what can be done to improve it. For such instances, retained parts will serve handy. The first step involved in performing the measurement system analysis is to go and set up an experiment in the worksheet in Minitab. Let's now see how to do that. So go to Minitab, take an empty sheet and go and click on Stat. Within Stat, you come down to Quality Tools. Within Quality Tools, come down to Gauge Study. And in Gauge Study, the second tab talks about Create Gauge R&R Worksheet. Click on that. The moment you click on that, it will say how many parts that you want to use for this gauge R&R study, 10 parts. How many operators do you have? For example, I have 3 operators. And if I want, I can even give the names of the operators here. And then it says how many replicates. So how many repeats do you want to do? I have 2 repeats or 2 replicates. So I would mention that as 2. So what would happen is each operator would measure all the 10 part twice. So all put together, we will have 60 measurements. Click on options and it would say, do you want to randomize the runs or do you want to leave it as it is? If I want to randomize the runs, you can click on this. By default, it would be on this. Then say OK and then say OK again. The moment you do this, Minitab would produce a set of template for you like this. This is what we call as the run order. Run order is the sequence or the serial through which you would do the experiment. So what Minitab is telling you is that it says take the 10th part first and give it to the first operator. Then you give the second part to him and so on. Thus, it is randomizing to ensure that people don't recollect from their memory and give the data. If you don't want to randomize, then you can obviously go to the options here and click on Do Not Randomize. Now that we have set up the experiment, let's go and find out what is the next step. Next step for us is to go and collect the data itself. So in this scenario, I already have collected some data and I'm going to use that data for our analysis. So here is the data. I have collected data of 3 appraisers and I have done 2 replicates. So I have different trials and part number and I have done the actual measurement itself. The values itself have been measured and these are nothing but the weight of the product. If you remember, we're talking about the weight of the fruit drink. So the weight of the fruit drink has been measured. Now in order for me to go and analyze this data, I have to go to Stat again. I go to Quality Tools and I again go back to Gauge Study, and in Gauge Study, I'm going to click on which type of gauge study I want to perform. This is a pure crossed study because all appraisers have measured all the part and that too twice, and I'm going to go and click on that. So Minitab is asking me for the parts, operators and the measurement data. So parts are nothing but column C3, operators are C1 and measurement data itself is C4. It is asking me whether it should perform an ANOVA method or an XBAR method. I'm going to leave it at ANOVA method. Here is some basic information about the gauge. If you want to key in some data here, you could do that. I'm going to leave it empty right now. In options, steady variation usually is at 6. Sometimes people key it as 5.15 as I mentioned in the earlier lecture. As far as the specification limit is concerned, I can go and key in this data. It's not mandatory, it's only optional. So it is 0.8 and 0.9, that is 800 grams to 900 grams. And with that, I'm not going to change anything else. I would say OK here. I would come to this and it says whether you want me to do confidence levels or not. I'm going to leave it at where it is right now. And I'm then going to go and click on OK. The moment I do this, Minitab has produced a gauge R&R ANOVA report, and in addition to this, it has also produced some analysis here. Now we will go and look at this to understand this a little better.